Welcome to Day 5 podcast. My name is Tommaso Pollio. I'm the music producer of the Spirit in Action YouTube series. And with me is the very wise Claire, who writes these wonderful meditations. Hello, Claire.
Thank you, Tommaso, who also records the most beautiful music on the meditations.
Today we tackle Day 5, which was titled Awareness of Negative Thought Patterns. Day 5 is basically a summary of what we have been discussing over the past few podcasts. But for those who are hearing us for the first time, might want to backtrack over these last few podcasts. One thing that really strikes me in this talk is the comment, we have become other people's opinions on us.
So really, what does that mean?
A resistance or?
Well, each situation we encounter in life gets imprinted in our minds. Unfortunately, we start to believe the belief systems and opinions of others. And they really, I think, influence our future and our progress. So we have to get to the core, really, of what's going on inside of us, so we can start to become more of who we truly are.
This all seems to be working with me at the moment, and the mind is complying after a lot of work. And I'm gradually letting go of these old belief systems. And I feel like the resistance is getting weaker. Of course, there are times I do fall off the path, but it feels like I'm doing 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
That's life.
Right. Yes, life. And often when shit happens, you can blame something and not take responsibility and then lapse into these old belief systems.
Well, I think they're just coming up to say, how far have you really got?
Right. It's like,
it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel like life sometimes I go, everything's going great. And then life goes, oh yeah, you want to make a bet? How about this?
It's really how you respond to it that makes the difference.
One thing that gets to me is, I've been very fortunate, touch wood. Whatever things have thrown at me, well, I guess I'm nowhere near as bad as what life has thrown at other people.
Why is that, you mean?
Yes. Why is that?
Well, for me personally, I think it's karmic, whether it's good or bad, but other people might not believe in that, and that's okay. I don't think there are any accidents or any coincidences. But, in a sense, we have to learn to endure, but we can bravely push through it. And I think as we do, it lessens its hold on us. And this is why meditation is so wonderful, because it lessens its hold on you.
When I was a child, I used to love listening to the story of the saints. Some of their lives were pretty awful, and what happened to them at the end was pretty awful. And these good people suffered. But what I loved about their stories is they never turned to the path of hate, of revenge.
They chose to move forward. There's a very poignant bit in the film The Little Buddha, which is an old film with Keanu Reeves in it, where the father of the child chosen as the little Buddha goes to the monastery, and one of the top monks there becomes ill, and he's leaning against the wall, and he's got this watch which he's going to give to this guy. And I remember him saying something like, "I'm a very good example of the Buddhist way of being." And what he was really saying is, just because I'm ill, I'm looking like I'm not doing anything, and that all that I'm trying to teach isn't making any difference. But that's not where he was in his mind anymore. The body will still react from where you come from, but not the mind or the soul. He was very, very advanced in his journey.
As you say, much of our old belief systems are genetic and very powerful, but we are spiritual beings and are having a human experience. So how much more powerful are we? I find this statement very powerful.
Well, this statement came from the French philosopher Teilhard de Chardin. And basically, we existed in spiritual form before we've ever were born into the physical world. So first, we are eternal souls. And in the quiet moments of our busy world, we can connect to that soul. So we're spiritual beings, which our soul is here to experience. Spiritual is our own personal relationship with the divine.
So I guess, are we all at different...
So it's not about any religion or philosophy.
Yeah, I get that.
It's beyond that.
So in fact, we're all on different levels, I guess, in this world, looking around.
Well, we're all where we're meant to be. Where it's not above or below, it just is.
So are there such things as soul ages of people? Like you can have very old people, but with the age of it.
Yeah, there are very young souls. But in a sense, does it matter?
No, it doesn't.
We just need to get on with our own journey.
That's right. That's why you can get these young children that seem so...
A lot coming through right now.
Oh, that's good.
Well, we need it, let's face it.
I know. It feels like the children are running the joint and the smart ones are still too young to help out.
Yes.
Everything seems to be in reverse, but anyway. We also mentioned creating the reality we want. How does that comply if another person's reality that they want doesn't match the reality you want?
Okay. Well, we all have different opinions and perspectives, and each one of us will arrive at conclusions through the information that we gathered over our lives. It's neither right nor wrong. We have to manage our emotional reactions to the other person so it does not create a wall between you, basically. And we must be aware of our expectations, which are again based on our belief systems and opinions, and are very often very unrealistic. Becoming aware of your expectations and how they change your feelings toward your own reality can free you from disappointment.
From disappointment?
So meditation helps us to live in a more sustainable and harmonious way with others. All we can do is work on becoming authentic and real and not getting so caught up with what someone else is or isn't doing. So we move to observing, not judging.
Well, I'm certainly feeling a lot stronger as time has gone on with these statements, and these meditations online have helped. I came up with the idea of recording you, and it was mainly just for me, and I thought, why don't I just share it freely on YouTube? And I'm really thankful for you for allowing me to share all this stuff, because, I mean, not only for prosperity? It's been a good reminder of me, and I am feeling stronger as I'm centering upon these statements. As you mentioned in this day 5, it's also helping me looking at my thought patterns and the negative that feeds the insecurity. One thing that's hurt my old belief system is the statement, past habits, hurts and actions no longer control or affect me, for I now choose how I feel.
It's very deep.
Yes, now that I'm beginning to understand the choosing part.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's going to stop the old feelings. It just means you're making a choice that when it arises, you don't have to run off with it.
Yes, and what I've been doing lately, which has helped a lot, is when I am triggered or upset by something, whenever I can, I just retreat somewhere and either lie down or...
Well, that's what I've always said. You know, it's about when you're feeling it, if you can, stop. Stop what you're doing and do something that helps change the focus.
Yes, and if sometimes I've been working and so I've got 3 hours of work, teaching or working with singers ahead of me, and I've been triggered just before, I do manage to keep it together and be very pleasant. And I notice feelings there. And as after the 3 hours of work I found a way of
incorporating
it. As soon as there's a break, rather than going on social media, rather than doing something.
Well, that's making a choice, isn't it?
Yeah, and it has helped. It's just to confronting that feeling, that trigger. And sometimes there's nothing. Someone's said something on an email, and I'm sure they haven't meant it that way, but you
interpret. Yeah, we assume so often.
And often in the past I would have reacted and then replied back, and they'd probably go, "What? What's going on?" And then you know what it's like when you reply to, and they didn't mean that at all. Yeah, so I think that's really helped. It's got me out of a lot of trouble.
Basically, our intent gives us purpose and direction, as well as inspiration and motivation. So the motive is the reason for doing something. It's the thing that moves you to act. And the desire is a wish or craving for something. It's an emotion of longing or hoping for a person, object, or outcome, basically. It's the soul wanting to expand and aid you in becoming more of who you really are. It guides us basically towards expansion and growth. But it depends what you use it for.
Or how you interpret that feeling.
Or how you interpret it.
I felt that energy a lot, and in the past it's been a lot. You just didn't know what to do with it. As you mentioned, the repetition of the words.
Well, they're very important, and they're important because they build the neural pathways in the brain, which forms neuroplasticity.
Oh, neuroplasticity. Is that like being able to...
It's the growth of the neural pathways. And so the stronger the repetition, the stronger the neural pathways become.
And therefore you become more malleable with what life throws at you.
More pliable, I suppose, yeah.
Yes. Able to flow.
Maneuver and a bit more.
Maneuver and flow with life.
Yeah.
And it also helps you moving away from making a choice not to support these old belief systems that haven't helped.
That's right, yeah, because the more that you do them, it starts to create a gap so that you can look and become the watcher watching yourself. And as you do that more clearly, as we talked about in the past, you start to see your patterns more clearly, and you really start to understand that what you're feeling isn't about now. And as I said many times, different people playing the same game. As we see that more clearly, we can start to form a gap and start to think, do I really need to hook into this? You're still going to feel it, but you will find that over time, the gap gets bigger and you're not so attached to that old belief system, which really isn't who you are. So as they devalue the belief systems and opinions, and we don't realise just how deeply they run our lives, then there does become more of you. And meditation is a great help to that because it gives you space to connect to your soul.
I love that. Connect to your soul. That's... Claire, how does the repetition of the words help us?
Well, they strengthen the neural pathways. So this is called neuroplasticity. And basically you reinforce those pathways in your brain. So the more we do it, the more reinforced that belief system becomes.
And what I found with myself is that the mind can sometimes put a fight up against this. I remember when you first told me to put, years ago, you told me to put, I'm a beautiful, lovable, vibrant person. And I remember I had to write it out in front of you. And I remember laughing while I was writing. And I remember you picked up on that and said, why are you laughing? And then I realised, why am I laughing at this? What is the mind? It's been so embedded in me that it found it very comic that I would write this because...
Well, it's so embedded in many ways. One, that we don't think of ourselves as being beautiful or vibrant, and particularly being a male, you know, that it's not okay to be like that. and beautiful. And so we want to strengthen that belief that you are.
I've been thinking, laughing at myself like this for nearly 20 years.
That's
and
right.
when you told me to write it, my mind thought it was the funniest thing because I did not believe that. And as you said, it takes a lot of work because there's a lot of resistance to that. And there's still a little resistance to that. Even nowadays when I write it, I can still feel the little person laughing.
Because the belief systems and whatever we're told by different people over the years has become so strong in us. It may have been something very subtle as a child, but we can hang on to it. And so every time we go back there, that strengthens that belief system. So we have to start to let go of all that.
What I'm also finding is that, as you say, things come in cycles. I'm noticing very old thoughts coming back to me.
That's what starts to happen. They resurface.
Yes. Okay, for example, the other night, I remember I used to be terrified of the dark. And I used to always leave the light on, or my mum, I was about 5, I always tell my mum to leave the light on. And, full light, that's the only way I could sleep at 5. The other night, that old terror came back and it wanted me to leave the light on. And I sort of went, oh, really? How did this was when I was 5. So I remember putting the light on for a minute or two and then going over the words, telling I'm safe. I was telling my mind, it's okay, it's all fine. And then after 5 minutes or so, I did turn off the light, and the terror was still there. But it's an age-old terror. I found it quite fascinating.
Because as we start to let go and the old things resurface, it comes out how it went in. That makes sense. So it's coming out exactly how it went in, that fear.
And what I kept reminding myself is that this isn't about now.
No, absolutely not.
Because I would have thought, what the hell's wrong with me? How can I be scared of the dark?
Don't worry, I used to be petrified of the dark too. Absolutely petrified.
And does it come back to you? The old feelings?
I think a little bit, definitely. In the past, not now, but in the past. But that's not saying it won't again, but no.
Yeah, it was for me, it was a very powerful experience. I nearly rang you, but I thought, no, you can't ring Claire at midnight. It was that powerful that I was really into my old...
Yes, it's strange, isn't it? It's
strange.
Because you think these things are never going to come again. That's why I've said to you in the past, that sometimes when something resurfaces, it can almost be a shock because you don't think you're going to feel that ever again, particularly as the gap between it has grown larger.
Exactly. It was such a shock to me. I was just...
So an imprint has surfaced.
So in other words, it is being released?
Well, it comes out how it went in, literally.
Comes out how it went in.
I remember as I learned to let go a bit more in way past, I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago now, and I used to take drugs. As I changed, I could feel the experiences of those drugs releasing from my body. And it was horrible, it was horrific.
Is it like a big roller coaster?
And very, very scary. Well, because at that time, back then, I used to take a lot of acid. And as I let go, it came out and I felt like I was on trips again. It was not very pleasant, but way gone now, but
But that was all the rage in the 60s, was it?
Yeah, all the rage back then.
Oh, the Beatles,
Yeah, it was what everyone around me did at the time.
But how do you deal with people who unfortunately have this tendency?
Well, it's no different from any other craving or want, really, is it?
No. Do you address what?
Well, I certainly don't judge them.
No.
I try and relate to them and see if one can do something to support them in changing, End of the day, it becomes a choice. But letting go of addictions is a very, very strong, powerful thing to do. Very hard.
Thank you so much, Claire, for talking to us again.
It's okay, Tommaso. Pleasure.
Now, if you want to know more about Claire, click on the link below and there's more information on Claire. So you can work on Skype, Messenger,
phone,
and also in person if you're in Perth. If you're somewhere else in the world, you've talked to people around the world.
All around the world, yeah.
Yeah.
Also available.
Yes, this is very available to book an appointment. And if you want to listen to more of our meditations, we've just recorded day 60. 65.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got a lot of meditations online from day 1. We just decided to put it in order of days, mainly because to create...
It's easier.
Yeah, and to create a continuum.
Yeah.
But we do tackle various topics, and feel free to comment below if you need any other topics talked about, and questions too. If you're listening to the other meditations, feel free to put a question in the comments and we'll discuss that, as we've been discussing all these other days, questions from other people and my questions, of course. Anyways, thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you, Tommaso. Pleasure.